Hey, good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. We're here today, the last day of November. Looking forward tomorrow to the first day of December. We are in that time of year, the Christmas season. If you're like us, you might have decorated your house already. I know Denise was excited after Thanksgiving. That's our tradition. Maybe you have a similar one. And you see we have some of our church decorations up as well. But another mark of the season is what is in my coffee cup. One of my things I look forward to every year. I have always enjoyed the Starbucks Christmas blend. So I bought a bag of that, grinding it up, drinking it here to help get me in the Christmas spirit as far as coffee is concerned. Even have had a peppermint mocha along the way, another one of my favorite Christmas coffee traditions. So enjoying this and enjoying spending these couple of minutes with you. And I really wanted to talk this morning about this particular decoration. We call it, a little loose there, the Advent wreath. Now we're a Baptist church, you probably know that, and we are typically not what's considered a liturgical church. Liturgical churches are those that follow the structure of the liturgical year. If you've come out of one of those, Episcopalian, Catholic, and some others, they have certain seasons of the year, often marked by certain decorations and certain colors. There are two very well-known ones that kind of have carried over into other traditions and into society at large. One is the pre-Christmas time that we call Advent. The second is the pre-Easter time that we call Lent. But right now we're in this 4-week before Christmas season of Advent. And the Advent wreath is one of the ways that these churches and we as well for many years have used to mark the progression of time toward Christmas, this Advent wreath. Now, Advent itself is a time of expectation. It's a time of waiting, much like I remember when I was a kid. There was a lot of expectation, and I wasn't very good at waiting. True confessions, I was one of those kids that snuck around and always found my presents before Christmas and kind of knew what I was getting. Not the best thing to do, I know, but that's just the kind of person I was when I was a kiddo. But nonetheless, that excitement, that expectation, that looking forward to the big Christmas day. Well, Advent has that same idea. Only the idea for the Christian is we're looking forward to the coming of Christ. Now, the interesting thing about us today as Christians is we are actually between what's often called the two Advents. The coming of Christ when he first came a couple of thousand years ago, born in Bethlehem and lived his life. And then the second Advent, which is his second coming or his return for his people to initiate the eternal kingdom that we look forward to. So we have these two Advents of Jesus. One for us is in the past, one in the future. And so this Advent season, we try to connect with the longing and the expectation of the first century people, and even before the Old Testament, all of the promises of Messiah, all that they looked forward to for God to send Messiah to them, represented by the prophetic literature that is typically read this time of year. And the first Sunday of Advent, each of the Sundays, there's a candle lit, I guess that's all I should say. We light a candle and it symbolizes a certain idea. The first week of Advent, the idea is hope, that we have hope in God. And so why do we have that? Well, from, again, those Old Testament prophetic scriptures. I want to actually start and read one quick scripture in the New Testament because I think this is kind of a fascinating scripture that has so much meaning to it and so much nuance to it. I won't spend a lot of time talking about it, but it's in Galatians chapter 4. Paul writing, Galatians 4:4, he says, "But when the time had fully come, God sent his Son, born of a woman, born under law, to redeem those under law, that we might receive the full rights as sons." And so Paul uses in his letter to the church at Galatia, as we've gone through Acts, we know right where that is. We've seen that region of Galatia, and we've talked about his trips there. He writes to that group of churches and tells them it was when the time had fully come, or another translation, a more modern translation says, at just the right time. One of the unique features of the coming of Jesus is it was in the perfect timing of God. I remember a saying, I've said it before if you've been around our church a while, because it seems true for most of us, that God is never late, but he's rarely early. And there are just times in our life where we have this sense of hope and expectation and waiting for God to act or to speak or to do something why hasn't he done it already? And God is never late. Sometimes it seems like he comes in, though, at the very last minute. But what we come to understand and what Paul is communicating is God's timing is perfect. And it was at just the right time in history that Jesus came to be born. And so our expectation, our hope of Advent is that the Messiah would come and fulfill so much of the Old Testament prophecy. There are so many places we could read, so many scriptures that we could read. And if you're in that liturgical tradition, one of the things that happens is they have prescribed readings for each Sunday of the year, but particularly around Advent. And usually the first Sunday of Advent focuses on the Old Testament prophetic literature as it looks forward to God's fulfilling his promise of Messiah. So here's one that is often read, or I shouldn't say often, but is sometimes read around Advent, Isaiah chapter 64. Now lots could be read from Isaiah. Maybe we could read Isaiah 61 that Jesus himself quoted about himself. Or we could go earlier to some of the passages in Isaiah. Unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. Listen to Isaiah 64. A little less familiar, but nonetheless expresses the hope that is present in the people of God for God to come. Isaiah writes, "Oh, that you would rend the heavens and come down, that the mountains would tremble before you. As when fire sets twigs ablaze and causes water to boil, come down to make your name known to your enemies and cause the nations to quake before you. For when you did awesome things that we did not expect, you came down and the mountains trembled before you. Since ancient times, no one has heard, no ear has perceived, no eye has seen any God besides you who acts on behalf," listen to this, "of those who wait for him." One of the passages. Now, this is a unique one because it does give us the sense that we are between the first Advent when Jesus came as a baby and the second Advent when he will come as the King, that we have this tension and much is made there that this nation of Israel, as they had issues and at times were even nearing exile and persecution, that the prophets would speak to them and call them to return to God and kind of cut off the judgment that was coming. And the prayer, the cry of the people of God was, that he would come and that he would set right the wrong and he would liberate them from his enemies. But I love that last phrase. It's the God who acts on behalf of those who wait for him. You know, what we have to do often is wait for God. By the way, those that wait upon the Lord, another Isaiah passage, will what? Renew their strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will walk and not be weary. They will run and not grow faint. The idea being that there's something about waiting on God. I'm going to talk a little bit about that this Sunday as we put aside Acts and look at some of the Christmas story together for the next few weeks. But this verse is so important in this Advent season. We wait upon God, and notice that it says he acts on behalf of those who wait for him. Now we'll talk about what waiting means in that, but I think the idea here is very important for us to understand. And part of the message of Advent, and particularly this first week of Advent, its theme of hope, is that we wait on God with hopeful expectation that the God who made so many promises to us will keep them. He kept so many of them in sending Jesus the first time, and he'll fulfill all of the rest of them in sending Jesus again. So we're caught in this in-between time between his coming to save and his coming to ultimately right every wrong. And this is the hope that we hold this Advent season. So we'll begin to light the candles this Sunday of the Advent wreath and talk about those things and use this very ancient traditional device of the wreath and the candles as we await and look forward to the coming of Jesus. Yes, the birth of Jesus we'll celebrate on Christmas, but also his one day second coming when he will return for we, his church. So I hope you'll find a way over these next few weeks, because there's a lot we'll do, isn't there? Between now and Christmas, there is so much to do. One pastor talked about, it seems like in these 3 or 4 weeks, what do we try to cram into it? We buy a present for everybody we've ever met, it seems like. We have to wrap them and get them ready. We travel to visit family. We host parties. We bake every one of our favorite goodies. We have the big meal. They're just, and that's not to mention all the parties from office or family or other circles that we have. So much we cram in to this time of year, into our already busy lives, that it's easy just to gloss over the great hope that we have in Jesus Christ. So my encouragement to you before December starts is to find a way over the next 24, 25 days to make sure you incorporate into your life and the rhythm of your life these reminders of who God is and what he has done in sending his son Jesus, so that sense of expectation builds in you, that Christmas morning, maybe like a little kid when they open the present that they'd asked their mom and dad for all year long, and they finally see it and all their hopes are fulfilled. We'll feel that same sort of joy and relief at receiving from God the fulfillment of his promise in Jesus as we look forward to worshiping together for Christmas. So that's my encouragement to you today. I'm going to let you go and get back to all of those many things I'm sure you have to do. And we'll look forward maybe to seeing you on Sunday. If you're here, we'd love to have you join us. 9 a.m. is our service. You can tune in online. We stream it as well. Or we'll see you back next Wednesday for a few more minutes and another cup of coffee with PC. Take care, everybody.